serious topic. The Home Office has been accused of victim-blaming asylum seekers as it launches a scheme to electronically tag some of those arriving in the UK.
Well, people arriving on these rubber boats from France or in the back of lorries are going to be fitted with, not all of them, but some of them are going to be fitted with devices. It's going to be a 12-month pilot scheme to see how it works out. Joining us now is Clare Moseley. She's the founder of the volunteer-run refuge charity Care for Calais. She hates the idea. And Stephen Woolfe, who's director of the Centre for Migration and Economic Prosperity. And Stephen, I guess it would be fair to summarise your position as being this, that it's horrible, we don't want it to happen, but you think that it's a necessary evil.
Yes, absolutely. And, of course, we've heard these arguments before. When tagging was first looked at for criminals, people said it's not the appropriate thing to do, it's against health and safety, it's against all the different issues that we think about humanity for individuals. But in this specific case, when you're looking at the way that the programme is going to be placed, it's not going to be placed on every single individual that comes across from the channel.
Well, who is it going to be placed on?
It's going to be placed on those, once they've been given, left the deportation centres, for those that have been assessed as a potential risk for evading future cases where they'll be assessed.
You mean running away, basically?
Absolutely. And of course, cases like that are already occurring. We know that around 2 every week are leaving some of the deportation centres. The former chief of the Borders and Immigration Independent Committee also mentioned this was a deep concern of his, and he's an independent reporter. That was Mr. Bolt. And so what we do know from the government, they're looking at that and they're saying we need to do something about it, and this is their mechanism.
So if they do abscond and they're wearing a tag, we know where they are.
That's ideally it. And I think most people are going to find that in those cases where the individual's been assessed as a danger or a potential flight risk...
Who's doing... I mean, Claire, who's doing this sort of assessment? They don't come with documents. They've they come across... Well, you would know. You work with people like this. And the point being that you said there, obviously, is that it's been trialled... we use them on criminals. These aren't criminals yet, are they? They're seeking asylum, even though they've made their way illegally.
I think even talking about them coming illegally is misleading because it's not illegal to claim asylum. And the Refugee Convention, as you know, specifically says that if a refugee has to arrive illegally, it's not their fault. It is part of being a refugee that you don't have passports, you don't have visas, you don't have a way to travel. So the whole language around this is misleading. And a lot of the things this government are doing that treat refugees as if they were illegal, treats them as criminals. That is what I call victim blaming, because it is not their fault they are refugees. The worst things in the world have happened to these people. They have no control over them.
So what do you propose, then, we should do? I mean, the fact is that some do abscond, they do disappear, they go off the radar. What do you think we should do about people like that, who are assessed at being at risk of running away and do run away? How would you propose dealing with that?
It's extremely unusual for an asylum seeker to run away because they have come here to claim asylum.
Yes, but they do run away. But some of them do. I mean, have you got figures? You know, what proportion?
Well, the government doesn't give me on the freedom of information that I've requested, but what we do know is that it's around two a week minimum, possibly slightly more than that.
All right, so let's take that at face value. 2 or 3 a week are absconding. What do you do about them?
I think if we treated refugees with dignity and respect, they wouldn't run away, because the whole reason that they're coming here is to claim asylum. That is their absolute thing that they need more than anything else.
Do you think we don't treat them with respect and dignity?
I think things like sending them to Rwanda are absolutely terrifying for them. They are the things that will make refugees go underground, because there's no point in them being here if they're not going to get asylum.
That's a really good point, isn't it? The Rwanda thing is going to probably mean more refugees who come here before they're taken to Rwanda disappearing.
But unfortunately, Richard, they're already going underground because there are a number of factors, and I disagree with Claire. I mean, I've been to the camps. I went first in 2014. I talked to people there, and there are different reasons why they come. There are some genuine asylum seekers who are suffering their issues, whether it's in Iran, Iraq or Afghanistan.
But they might come here and be electronically tagged and treated like criminals.
But what I am saying is that there are also those who are not here. They're seeking to come here for work, or they've been tagged in with the people traffickers.
And that might be right, but then how do you assess out of a group of people who've come from all around the world, who have arrived here all seeking asylum? Well, I'm confused as to what that screening process will be to go, you get tagged, you don't.
But that's the process. They have a 2-tier system that's being assessed at the moment for those going to Rwanda. The immigration services of people who are experts at this for a long time, they're beginning to understand the mechanisms and motivations of those who are trying to evade it, because they recognise what the people traffickers are saying to them when they get here.
What would you say to the point that basically being tagged in itself isn't that big a deal? You just have a small tag on your ankle. That what we're really looking at here is the association of ideas, that we see tags in a criminal context, and that is actually what's causing this almost this visceral reaction against the idea.
Absolutely. I mean, it is dehumanising. It takes away your agency. It takes away your feeling of self-respect. And the people that we're talking about right now are the people who are in the detention centre who are going to be sent to Rwanda. And I have talked to them. I have talked to many of them. And our volunteers have talked to all of them. And those people came here to claim asylum. Those people have the most terrible stories. I talked to a young boy whose whole family were killed in front of him. I talked to a man who was tortured in Iraq and his fingernails and his toenails were pulled out. And he told me the toenails were worse because that means he can't walk properly anymore. I talked to people who were tortured in Libya. I talked to a man who had the most horrific torture in Iran. He was raped with a broomstick and he no longer has control of his bowels. These people are genuine refugees, and I speak to a lot more people in those camps than the gentleman sitting next to me, because I have lived in them for 7 years. And these are not people who are coming here to work. These are people who have the most terrible stories of the worst things in the world that have happened to them. People from Yemen who have watched their families starve to death. People from Syria who have seen their families killed. These are not coming here for the wrong reasons.
Well, it's hearing the detail, isn't it, of those sorts of stories that really puts an emotion back into something that, you know, can just seem like a statistical thing of people absconding. But thank you to both of you for joining us this morning. We'll see how far they get with this. Of course, the flight from Rwanda was grounded and never took off, so who knows?
All right, thank you both very much for your time, then. Thank you.